really glad these guys... Oh! You guys are here.
Is he replacing me?
Where were you? You missed a few episodes.
I did.
Where were you?
I was taking a sabbatical.
Taking a sabbatical. Try Before We Die, everybody. The whiskey review show where we don't know where we're drinking, but we will tell you what we're thinking. You know, it's 400 bottles of whiskey in here, give or take, Mal.
Yep.
And it's a hit or miss. We don't know what it's going to be.
Never.
And we plan ahead. We have our notes ready, and we're totally Oh, none of that.
We'd never do any of that.
We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. The only thing we know is it's an honest review show.
As best as we can do.
And Felix, that's what we think really separates us from a lot of the other reviews out there, which are great. And those guys, though, they're prepared, they've tasted, they've read the notes, they're up to speed on things, and they really give this educated review, which is awesome. But most people who are buying Scotch whiskey, right, are buying whiskey and having an experience of all their own. And that's what we're trying to replicate here. We have this collection or selection, because we are opening them, and we're just telling you what we think of it based upon, boom, open it, taste it, what did you get?
Right.
That's what we're doing here.
Yeah, I mean, I have very little background in Scotch drinking, except for the stuff I drink over here. I mean, I'm no expert.
So you have more than little.
But I wouldn't consider myself a connoisseur. I mean, I would say, hey, look, I would be one of those people go into a freaking liquor store and peruse the Scotch aisle, and I would be probably, if it wasn't as educated as I've got over the last 3 seasons, be more apt to buy a more expensive bottle, thinking that that's where it's at.
Price and quality would be equated, but it's not true.
Not true at all.
Right. I like this idea that you put out. Not a connoisseur. If we were to the word, I'm a appreciator.
Drinkcore.
Yeah, you're a Glenmore.
Yeah, I am a more edgy.
Yeah. Here we go. Let's see what we're drinking today, guys. As we know, 75 behind me, 98 across, 148, 198, 216, and then we move into the snooker room, which is where we're going.
233.
This is not planned. You just got to believe in the magic of the world. Was it you who was saying in Harry Potter 5 when he steps into the, what was it?
It was a tent that when he walks in, it's like Vegas.
Yeah.
And he goes, I love magic.
We just had some magic. We're going to the snooker room, everybody. We'll see you there. 233. Here we come. Here we are in the snooker room, everybody. I don't know if you can see it, but we do have a tournament snooker table right here to my right, and behind us the open shelf. But here we have some whiskey. We're at bottle 233. What we know is that we're at 228 across, 229, 230, 1, 2, 3, 233. We have the Glenglassaugh. This is a Highland Single Malt Scotch Whisky. This is a newer distillery. I don't know a whole lot about them. Let's see what the label can tell us. 50% ABV, which should be reflective of some nice flavors, some real good potential explorations of, ex-Tennessee casks. This is exciting. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Lincoln County method when we sit back at the bar. Non-chill filtered and natural color. The Glenglassaugh, a Highland Single Malt Scotch Whisky. 50% ABV, which is 100 proof. We'll see everybody back at the bar. You guys are still here. That's awesome. Sometimes I just hope maybe it'll just be me and a whole bottle.
Never.
The Glenglassaugh. I don't know if you heard in the snooker room, the box, it's moved back to our logo, or our phrase. We've come across a Glenglassaugh Evolution. This is a Highland Single Malt Scotch Whisky, no age statement. 2 things excite me about this bottle, perhaps 3, Felix. One of which, you live in Tennessee.
Yes.
This is matured in ex-Tennessee casks. Now, I know for certain Jack Daniel's is a Tennessee whiskey.
Yes.
So it makes me curious about the Lincoln County method and the charcoal they use. But we'll get there in a second. The other thing that excites me about this, Mal, or one of the other 2, is this 50% ABV. It's always exciting to have these higher ABVs because of the flavors, right? Because of the flavors available to us. And the third thing that I'm absolutely curious about is I know absolutely nothing about this distillery. other than its region because it's told us it's a Highland.
Sure.
I am unfamiliar with it. So I'm going to get it opened, poured, the Evolution 50% ABV from Glenglassaugh. It's like a zipper.
At Jack Daniels in Tennessee, it's all about the spring branch water that runs through the property and the trees that grow. And so all of it is done there, where the barrels are made with the trees on the property and then charred on property as well.
Right.
And then afterwards they use that for their charcoaling to get the color.
We'll talk a little bit about that in just 1 second. If we could let's listen to the pop and the pour, and we're going to finish up with this idea of the charcoal in their local trees. So that was not a snare drum, not a bass drum. What's the drum in between?
Tom-tom.
Is that a tom-tom?
No, it's lovely.
Could have been in a club.
Could be in a club if there was 3 of them.
Tina Weymouth, Chris France, and Jerry Harrison.
Right.
3 of the 4 from which band?
Tom Tom Club?
Talking Heads.
Okay.
Minus David Byrne.
Yeah.
So the Tom Tom Club was everybody minus David Byrne.
They all went to RISD, Rhode Island School of Design.
Yes.
And their senior project was the band.
My favorite high school band was Talking Heads. I must have watched Stop Making Sense every day halfway through that year.
That was their senior project.
It is just such a fun noise. Now that, Felix, I did not know. Stop Making Sense or an early Talking Heads album, Fear of Music?
Precursor to Stop Making Sense was their multimedia senior project, and their advisor went, "You're a band." And then they got funding and then became the band.
You know, it's sort of, this isn't political or anything by any stretch, but the bummer is David Byrne has continuously ruled out any reunion.
He just did a Broadway show that he's still running now.
And plays all the songs, but he will not reunite with the other band members. Right, which is a bummer. In fact, one of our paintball teammates, and it always pains me because I believe him to be telling the truth when he says he saw, I think in Cape Cod, but he saw one of the shows from the Big Suit Tour.
Yeah.
Cynical Chuck.
Wow.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Good Lord.
Did he have any other names? Cynical Chuck, Chuck E. Cheese?
No.
That's where we
Chuckinator.
Chuckinator.
Yeah. Chucky.
Chucky.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyway, the Glenglassaugh, a 50% Highland single malt. I believe this to be a newer distillery. I absolutely know it will not be represented in any of our books. Mal, do you happen to have a phone handy?
I've got it going.
All right.
I'm all over this.
All right. So can you
Yes.
do a quick search on Glenglassaugh and let us know?
So this is where it gets interesting. They were founded in 1875.
Oh,
Right.
That's not newer.
But something must have gone on.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to read into it. But for whatever reasons, they were operational as of November 2008. So they must have shut down, restarted again, and then, which actually is interesting because of the water supply.
We got to go back to Tennessee.
Glasser Springs is where they get their water from. And they chose that site because of the clean and pure water supply that it was. The site was also part of many illicit distilleries. So maybe this was part of something that was going on which shut them down. And then they reopened thanks to First Minister of Scotland, Alex Salmond.
Did he design your shirt that you wear sometimes?
Could have been involved with that.
The Salmon?
The Salmon.
So Mal says what, 2008?
2008 they were operational.
Okay,
again.
so this is interesting. So I quickly stepped up and I grabbed a bottle of the Wolfburn, right, which is a distillery that was around in 1821, but then shortly thereafter stopped production. Just everything was auctioned off. It just fell apart. It was gone. There are no known examples of labels, of tasting, of glasses, anything. Nobody knows what the original Wolfburn tastes like, yet we know it existed. And then it came back, and it's not here, but I believe it's in 2013, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it was like that.
It came back into production. So what we have here, it sounds like, is a historic distillery that had a very short lifespan.
Actually, no. They were mothballed in 1986.
Oh.
So they were around for a while.
18 something to 1986?
Yes.
Okay.
And then they were mothballed from 1986 to 2008, 2009 when they reopened.
So 86. So as I was a junior in high school, this shut down.
Don't date yourself.
I'm a good guy. Why wouldn't? Oh, different use of the word. Okay. So there must be historic examples of this out there. All we have here at the bitter end are new releases of this.
Hence evolution.
Yep, and there's the Torfa and the Revival. Revival. That may have perhaps been their first release when they reopened. So this is interesting. Love learning. Absolutely thought this was a completely new distillery. Found out it's a historic distillery, shut down in the mid-'80s. It's come back to life in the late 2000s, and here we are in 2022 having my first, yours?
Yeah, my first.
Yours, first opportunity to taste it. Now I'm going to go back to Tennessee for a minute. So that's exciting. Thank you for that history. So the Lincoln County method is related to the charcoal. And all the whiskey distilled there must pass over charcoal.
Yes.
Do you know what wood that charcoal must be made of?
It's birch?
No. And this surprised me because whiskey is well known for its time in oak. And so the Lincoln County method, and I believe I have this accurate, it's maple. The charcoal must be maple.
In Tennessee?
Yep.
Not a lot of maple
So
trees.
it may not be a sugar maple like we have here.
Okay.
Right, but there are a number of varieties of maple trees, but the charcoal must be a maple. Okay? Right. I have been to Jack Daniels. I'm not declaring this is Jack Daniels. There are other distilleries in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Right, I think, and do I have this right? Is Bob Dylan's distillery, Heaven's Door, is that in Tennessee?
Not sure.
It's a new distillery.
There's Dinkle.
Oh, George Dinkle.
Yeah.
Right. So okay. So there are a number of distilleries in Tennessee. All we know is this is what? How did they phrase it? Ex-Tennessee cask matured. Then on the back again, they've chosen to. They really like the small font. They could do a big label. We have all this side room, but evolution is created by maturing the whiskey in a unique combination of the finest hand-picked Tennessee first fill whiskey barrels. The result is a superbly well-balanced single malt whiskey. And this is achieved through the perfect, powerful words, marriage of maturing Highland malt whiskey, which is the spirit, in traditionally charred American oak casks from Tennessee. Non-chill filtered and bottled at natural color. Evolution represents the heart of Glenglassaugh distillation and their personality, and indeed the landscape in which it is set.
And I wonder if that mention of the Tennessee barrels is a nod to Jack Daniels without actually being allowed to have a nod to Jack Daniels. Because usually all you ever hear is just bourbon cask.
Right.
You never hear Tennessee.
So I think it's Deanston has just released a Kentucky barrel, right? So there is this idea, right, of trying to attach importance and question marks, thus creating interest, right? So could this be a marriage of George Dickel and Jack Daniels barrels, right? Because they could do that too. But certainly what they're saying is it's aged in Tennessee barrels.
But the Kentucky reference is because just a couple years ago, until a couple years ago, bourbon only came from Kentucky, just like Bordeaux only comes from Bordeaux, France, or Champagne. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So, but they've changed it, because prior to that, Jack Daniels was known as a Tennessee sipping whiskey, not a bourbon.
Okay.
Now they're calling it a Tennessee bourbon, as opposed to a Kentucky bourbon. And now people are saying, you only want your bourbon from Kentucky, but that's not true. Bourbon's from everywhere, just like we have Scotch from Japan.
We don't have Scotch from Japan.
Okay.
We have whiskey. We have single malt from Japan, just like we have single malt from Canada, but you can't attach the Scotch label.
This is from
And you're
Scotland.
accurate that the bourbon label used to be identified to a region in America by law. What's interesting about American law, and we're about to go to a nosing and a color, or a color and a nosing, is when you read the American whiskey laws, they spell whiskey without an E
Huh.
in the original language. Because whiskey moonshine, well known in Appalachia, right? Agreed?
Hard to spell.
Right? Our friends, our teammates, Big Red and Chatty Matty, what would they wear at their weddings? What would their traditional dress be?
Scottish.
A kilt, right? So, the folks, the whiskey war, right? About tariffs and taxes and moonshine, right? And so the origin of whiskey in this country, there's a piece of it that came from
The old
Scotland,
land.
right? Where they spell it without the E.
Right.
And so our friends who wear kilts at their weddings, we've been to, right? And so in law, in America, it's spelled without an E. Though American whiskey is on labels almost always with an E.
Interesting.
The Glenglassaugh, 50%, no age statement, Tennessee barrels, American oak, a rekindled distillery. This is their Evolution release. Malcolm, give us a color.
Straw.
Straw, as in Rapunzel.
As in Rapunzel.
No, who was the guy who wove the straw into gold with the spinning wheel?
Yeah.
Do you know? The crew is on it.
Rumpelstiltskin?
Rumpelstiltskin. But yes,
All right,
it
mouths
was
with straw. You want to contradict, counter, approve of that color?
That's an amber to me, like a light amber of like maple syrup,
for
but
me,
not as viscous. I mean, not
as oily,
syrupy.
right? Yeah. For me, forgive me, everybody. An American beer I wouldn't buy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awful.
Pilsner, lager. What's an American beer you wouldn't buy?
Well, I don't want to say it.
Oh,
You do bring up a good point because I do drink those styles of beers,
Yes.
right? So, a Stella, for instance.
There you go. A lager.
A lager, yes. Let's have a nosing. Woo!
wow.
That's
Yeah.
that 50%, everybody.
My
That's
eyes- My eyes
alcohol.
just glazed over.
That's alcohol.
That's a lot.
50%.
Yeah.
100 proof.
That's a little bit nimble on the nose.
Now, just on that breath, that
Yep.
hit, that's like the sour mash of a Jack Daniels.
Right.
That sour mash kind of burn.
It should have relaxed now that the glass
It
is
has.
breathing.
That first hit.
It is very potent. We have no tasting notes, nothing to go on this bottle whatsoever. We have nothing.
If I could get over the fact that my eyes are watering.
Yeah.
It's
Okay, so I'm now into some wood, something oaky. Wow. Not charcoaly. Jack Daniels is so unique in its flavor. I'm not picking up anything there.
and some sort of
A raisin, a plum.
Plum?
Some sort of a dark fruit.
it's definitely got some sort of fruit.
A pitted fruit. Something with a...
Yeah, fig.
Oh,
a pit.
Fig. Fig. Oh, I got it on me. Fig.
You've said that before.
yeah, fig's not a bad call.
All right, so we have this lager,
Smoky fig.
light color straw. We have some sort of a pitted fruit, whether it's a plum or a fig, a dried, a
Not
prune,
smoky fig.
a prune.
This is more like a I'm going to put it out there and say it's more like a Fig Newton with that biscuit.
Oh. So that's that woody.
That's the
that
toasty.
Woody. That's that
Toasty.
biscuit. Yes.
That
Yes.
outside biscuit part.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting.
That's toasty. Yes, a toasty fig.
Well, let's have a taste.
All right.
50%. Take it easy, gents. It's strong. So, the power of suggestion is a real thing. But boy, that Fig Newton idea carries.
Well, if a Fig Newton can punch you in the face, that's really powerful.
Doing the big fig.
Big fig. That's a powerful drink. That's bourbonish.
But it ends quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't even go down here.
Yeah, it ends very quickly,
Right.
but it's potent.
But it's not overly potent.
No, it ends fast, right?
Like, it's not.
It's a jab.
I was expecting it to be
Not
one
a
of these,
haymaker.
Like,
No, punch in
take
the
me
face.
out and gone. But
Yeah.
what it has done, there is a lingering sense that this is what I've just drank.
But you
I've
know
had
what's
it.
lingering? Is that biscuit.
Yes.
That biscuit is really lingering.
here.
Right, because if you're familiar with a Fig Newton, the outer biscuit is very dry, it's very crumbly, it's not very sweet.
Until you bite it.
Right, and then you take it into the Fig Newton, and it's almost like black licorice. Not for everybody, but if you like it, you love it.
Yes.
And Fig Newton didn't, to expand their market, did the apple and the strawberry Newtons and whatnot. But this is not that sweet. This is, for me, it is that Fig Newton.
And it's
That's
very,
a great idea.
very, very abrupt, this drink.
Is it-
Yes.
It's
Is
starts, ends.
Quick.
It's dry. It's dry?
In your face, gone.
It's dry.
Dry. Dry?
Dry.
But you definitely know you're drinking it.
With just a hint of sweetness
Ooh,
in
yeah.
the middle.
No, this is end of a day. Had a tough Monday.
Yep.
Drink. This is I want a drink.
Right. Ugh.
I
Just
gotta
get myself a
have
glass.
something to make a statement because this is what I've
Yeah.
had.
I am ending my day.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
a drink.
That is
Wow.
a drink. But it's well crafted.
Mm-hmm.
It's not spiky. It's not harmful in the sense that you don't get that, but it's got something.
So you let us know, Mal, I think revived in 2008 or 2009. Right. So if we add 12 years to that, we're at no more than 14 years has this been in operation. So
Okay.
this is a young whiskey, but I find it to be mature for that information, right? It's not striking me as an 8-year-old. It's not striking me as immature. There's a maturity to this whiskey. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it doesn't have the caliber of like some of the bigger guns in the pool, but what this is, it's got a lot going for it.
Yeah.
Even in that short space of time that you have it, where you're drinking this, what you have is a well crafted, and they've called on the notes that they thought were important. And what has happened is they've made a drink that has certainly a kick to it.
Yeah.
But has some real taste to it, and you can't get away from it. You can't get away from that Fig Newton. That
cannot.
That
I
taste.
can't. It's wrapped in dryness. It's wrapped in crumbly biscuit, right? But there's something
Poking at you in the
from
middle.
right?
And that's the
Right.
fruit. That's the alcohol.
Now, given that, and having had a lot of Fig Newtons as a young man, I feel like I have no choice but to have the cheese because Fig Newtons and milk really worked well together because that milk helped with the biscuit. And so I'm going to go with a piece of cheese, just as a full disclosure. Anybody else have a thought as to whether it would be?
I got a funny feeling that the berry is going to get me right to the middle of the Fig Newton.
That was an awesome idea, Felix. What do you think, Amal?
I'll back up Felix with the berry, only because I like the cheese and I know what it's like. Now that I've had the berry in it, it's maybe not the right choice.
I think the cheese, it does well. It doesn't bring out any more potency in the whiskey. It wraps around the biscuit.
The one thing the berry does for it, it brings that sweetness out.
Yeah, it makes it sweeter.
It does make that sweeter.
But again, my choice would be come home after a day of work, and I'm calling it a day.
Yep.
I'm not going anywhere else. This is something I would choose to say.
This is my statement.
I'm ending my day. This is a good drink to end my day.
Because we can pair with a circumstance. It doesn't have to be an actual food item.
No.
So Felix is pairing it with the end of a hard day, end of a Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine with this cheddar. It worked well with the biscuit. And you're feeling...
What I would like to do, which would be against everything that we really work against, but I want to see what this does.
Just a drop.
Yep.
Opening up a whiskey with water, with the amount of whiskey he has in his glass, it truly is a drop or two that can make a difference.
That makes that very dangerous.
Well, and that water will help with some of that
Because you
high
can drink
alcohol.
a lot of it?
That takes that sort of those slightly sharper edges, and now it's like get nicely glossed over. Now you could get glossed over because you wouldn't have to worry about anything like that. Yeah, that dreadful water.
I've known Felix a while. He's not worried.
I know. Yeah. But it doesn't take away from the potency.
No, but still, that buys into what I believe. That's my day is over.
Yes.
I'm not doing anything else.
No.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, for our first experience ever with a Glenglassaugh,
Yeah.
I am
Very impressed.
pleased.
Very impressed.
Yes. Well, let's see what the crew has for us as we sign off today. Try before we die. By the way, if you're a subscription, if you're in with YouTube, thank you very much. We appreciate the support.
We do.
Let's see, what do we got? They were laughing earlier, by the way. Felix, will you read this one to us?
Please give him his glass if he needs them.
3 rings of I raise a glass to my 3 friends, including myself. This is to 3 rings of marriage: the engagement ring, the wedding ring, and the suffering. Why is divorce so expensive? Because it's worth it.
That in itself, that quote in itself has made this so worthwhile.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
The Glenglassaugh, 50%. I do this all the time, but I am having a little bit more of that.
That is quite impressive.
It is.
And actually, what makes it really cool is because obviously the Wolfburn, but this is another young distillery.
No. I misunderstood. Where'd the Wolf brand come in?
Oh, I was noting a historic distillery
But this was-
that closed and reopened.
Yes.
Like the Glenglassaugh.
And these guys are on the same sort of track.
This is nothing Wolf.
No.
Oh, okay.
Right.
No.
Just another example of a distillery
young
that
distillery
closed
that's-
and has come back to life.
And obviously got the legs
Well,
to freaking
you know.
start putting the business
God
together.
bless Scotland.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it
That
is.
is really good.
What do they say? God bless Scotland. They say today's rain is tomorrow's whiskey. Yeah.